In this video, we're going to learn how to use Bootstrap to create and style forms. Okay, we're going to create a simple login form using a basic HTML, and then we're going to use Bootstrap ready classes to style the form. Okay, so let's start. So let's create the form using the form tag, and our first input is going to be the email input. Okay, so the type is email, and the ID is going to be email, and let's add a placeholder email. Okay, let's have a label for this input. We're going to have a for attributes, which is going to be for email, and let's add some text email. Okay, let's do the same thing for the password. So the input, the type of the input is going to be password, and also let's give it an ID, password, and finally a placeholder as well, password. So let's have a label as well, label for password, and let's add some text there, password. Okay, and finally let's have a login button. So it's going to be a button, the type is submit, and let's place some text there, login. Okay, so a simple HTML form. Now we're going to start looking at Bootstrap classes we can use to style the form and optimize spacing and so on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, each of the inputs, we're going to give them a we're going to add to them a class called form control. Okay, so let's see what's this class, what effect this class is going to create. So class form control. Okay, so you can see there some basic styling. First thing, you can notice that the width of the input has changed, so it's 100% now. And also you can see some styling for the border. Okay, fine. Let's add the same class to our password. Okay, and let's style the button very quickly. We'll see button styling in detail later on, but let's just style this one for now by adding a class button. Okay, and we're going to have another class button default. We'll cover buttons later on in detail. Okay, now we're going to do something else just to optimize the spacing. So you can see there, so we don't have any margin between the input and the button. Same thing there after the email input. So there is a class we can use as well. It's called form group, and usually this class is added to an element that will wrap an input with their label. So what we're going to do, we're going to wrap email, the email inputs and the email label inside a div, and we're going to give that div a class form group. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing with the password inputs and its label, and we will see how this spacing is going to be optimized. Okay, so let's do that. So let's select the label of the email and the inputs. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to create a div and give it a class form group. And then I'm going to place the email input and its label there. So you can already see some bottom margin over there. Okay, and let's do the same thing with the password. Create a div, and I'm going to give it a class form group. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, now if we want to change the display of our form to inline, there is a simple class for that. We just need to give the form a class form inline. So we don't see anything at the moment. So anything under 768, we can't see the impact of the form inline class. But once we make the viewports width bigger, so beyond 768 pixels, we can see the inline display. Okay. Okay, fine. Now let's create another form and try a few more classes. So we're just going to copy the same form. Okay, let's have a line break and a horizontal line for now. Okay, let's copy the form here. Let's take out the form inline class and let's okay, yeah, fine. So the first thing we're gonna have a look at here is gonna be the horizontal form horizontal class, which will make our form horizontal. So we're gonna have a horizontal form where the labels and their corresponding inputs are aligned, and we'll use the grid system to give each of these a number of column to occupy for their width. Okay, so let's try that. So first of all, we need the class form horizontal. Okay, we don't see anything at the moment. Okay, because we need to use the grid system first. So we're gonna do use the grid system classes to define the number of columns that the label and the inputs are going to take. So for labels, we're going to use a class. So let's say that we want to use the grid system to define the width of these elements for small devices and beyond. So it's going to be small devices, medium and large devices. Okay, so we won't see any effects for extra small devices. So under 768 pixels, we're not going to see anything. Okay, so the class we're going to use for the label is going to be column SM, and let's go for 2 columns. So for labels, we need to add another class. It's control label. We have to use this class. Okay, so let's move to the inputs. So for inputs, we cannot use the column SM class straight away, but we need to place the inputs inside a div. Okay, first, and we're gonna give that div the class column SM 10 columns in our case. Okay, so now if we make our width, the viewports width bigger, so you can see how the layout looks like. Okay, so the email label is taking 2 columns out of the 12 columns of the grid system, and the inputs is taking 10 columns. All right. Okay. Now we're going to move to the password and do exactly the same thing. So let's just copy the label class, add it to the password label. And also we're going to place the password inputs inside a div. And we're going to give this div a class column SM10. Okay, moving on to the button. So we'll do the same thing, but this time we're just going to place the button inside a div. Okay, and we'll give this div a class. Okay, so first we want the button to, okay, so we want to jump 2 columns, and we want the button to start here. So in this case, we're going to use a different class. So this class is going to be column sm offset, followed by the number of columns. Okay, and then we're going to have column sm 10. So now you will see that we jump 2 columns, and then we have our button over there. Okay, so that's how it works. So you can see how the horizontal form looks like. Okay, so just remember that for inputs, we need to place them inside a div before we use our grid system class. The label, we can use straight away the grid system classes, but we need to add the control label class to that. Okay, and for buttons, if we want to jump a number of columns, we need to use the column sm offsets followed by the number of columns. Okay, and then we can use the column sm10 for the number of columns taken by the inputs. Okay, perfect.